We've looked at how we can do a chi-square test by hand, and you will know how to set up all the tables with observed values and the expected values, and know how to find the chi-square values for your math exploration. In the exam and in most of the tasks in the book, it's fine to use the calculator, and that's certainly the quickest way to do a chi-square test. So I'll show you how to do this on the Casio, and we'll use the same example that we did by hand. So from the main menu, we're going to go into the Stat menu, that's menu 2, and now we're going to do a test. So you can see the test button, that's F3, and we want to do a chi-square test, so chi. And what you'll see then is it says observed. The observed values go into matrix A. So a matrix is a table, and the expected values go into matrix B. And so let's go into matrix A first to enter our observed values. So matrix A. Matrix A, it says none, but so we need to create a table. So we're going to set up the dimensions for the table. And when we talk about dimensions, first we enter the number of rows. So it's just like going to the movies. You find the row first and then your seat. So row and then column. Number of columns is 3. So this is a 2x3 table, which gives it 6 cells of data. So dimensions are 2x3, and we recognize the size of the table, and we can enter our data. So there were 9 female French students, and then 29, 12, 31, 40, and 29. And that's more or less everything we have to enter. Now we can exit, and we can go into matrix B and set the dimensions of matrix B, and they have to be exactly the same. So 2x3. And now we can go back. We don't have to enter anything here. But we want to, let's see, if we go back here and have a look at matrix A. Let's see, we select it like this and then execute. If we wanted to look at matrix B, let's see. Okay, we can go into matrix A, and if you go out and in again, I think you should be able to see the actual values here. Yeah. So now we have an updated table of expected values, and they are the same as we found by calculating this by hand. So these are the expected values. So once you have content in both matrices, we can go back here and then execute our test. So we now know that we have data in matrix A and in matrix B, and we want to execute the test. And the first thing that comes up here is the chi-squared value, which is 4.765. So it's slightly different from the one we found by hand, but that might be because our our addition was less accurate. That could be, but it's more or less the same, so that's fine. And we can use that as a basis of comparison with a critical value that we're either given or we find it in a table. But you can also perform a chi-square test without a critical value. We can also look at this p-value. Now this is a probability value. If this value is greater than our chosen significance level, if it's greater than our chosen significance level, we can accept our null hypothesis. If it's smaller than the significance level, then we have to reject the null hypothesis and accept the alternative. And we can just see how this is summed up. So for critical values, if the chi-square value is smaller than the critical value that we find in the table, we accept the null hypothesis. If the chi-square value is greater than the critical value, we reject H0 and accept H1. If the P that we get on our calculator is greater than the significance level, 0.05, then we accept the null hypothesis. If it's smaller, then we reject it. So what would we have to compare here? So we have a p-value of 0.09, which is greater than our chosen significance level of 0.05. Okay. So that should lead us to accept accept the null hypothesis, just like we ended up doing with the critical value. And these two ways of interpreting the test always have the same outcome. So it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Very often you're asked to interpret the result and explain what it means. And in our case, we'll have to translate the result based on our sample. Language choice does not depend on gender.